Hey guys, okay, so I've been building a lot of bars lately, and I have this headboard that I am going to turn into a bench with the help of my trusted companion. Say hi, Rogan. Where are you there? There you are, baby. Anyway, so I have the headboard, and I just need to cut down some legs and sides and take some things apart. I just had a different idea of how I want to do the legs for this bench. So the headboard has these beautiful posts, and I love the feet. So I think I'm going to actually cut part of this headboard off and then cut it here and then just put plain post legs down and use these for the front legs. So I've measured up 16.5 inches, and that's where I'm going to make a mark and cut the legs off, because the height of a bench seat should be 18 inches and the wood that I'm using for the seat is 1.5 inches. So that's where I came up with the 16.5. So I've measured that. I'm just going to square it off. Now this is not going to be an easy challenge to measure and to cut. So just take your time and try to get it as accurate as possible. I've set the blade on my saw to the fullest length so that when I ride the blade along the side of the post, it should just cut it perfectly for me. Okay, here I go. The post is thicker than the blade of my saw. I'm going to have to flip this over and do it again, but first I'm going to cut the other side. I flipped the headboard over and I'm going to transfer my straight line to the back side that I need to cut. I'm going to square this up a little bit on my chop saw, but here's one leg. I'm going to do this to the other side. Okay, I'm just going to square up the legs. The ends were not perfect from when I cut them with the circular saw. Just going to take a hair off here. Make sure that the other one's the same. Great. Barely took anything off, but now they're perfectly squared and the same height. Okay, these can be set aside. Now I need to make the legs for the back. I have a couple pieces of 2x6 that I am going to rip down, glue together. I measured the size of the leg that I need, and it needs to be a 3x3. So I'm going to rip these down on my table saw, glue them together, and these will be the new legs. I keep a lot of scraps. I have to admit it, I'm a hoarder. This is exactly why I keep scraps, because I'm able to make some legs and not have to run to the store and pick up any supplies. So I've set my blade to cut at 3 inches with my guard. I'm just going to run these through. So there's obviously a nail in there. I don't know if you saw the sparks. Well, I try not to cut through nails. It's not good for the blade. But I guess that happens occasionally when you reuse wood. So the length of this one is 39 inches. So I'm only going to get one leg, or 2 pieces, 1 leg out of this. So I have another piece. Let's see how long this is. Oh, that's only 30 inches. So I need to find a couple more pieces of wood to get my legs, but we'll get them. The first board that I cut already had a cut edge. So on these, see how they're rounded on both sides? I have to trim off one side first, then measure my 3 inches and trim off the other side. So then you get nice square edges. Okay. Before I glue these legs together, I am going to drill pocket holes into them so that I have a way to attach them to the existing frame. See? Got my screw holes. Guess you can see them. There we go. And just do that on the other 3 pieces. I am going to glue these 2 pieces together. Make sure that the pocket screw holes are on the outside, and then I'm going to screw them together, and you won't see those screws. I'll put those on the back side. Okay, let these set up, wipe off any excess glue, and then they'll be ready to finish up for my legs. Okay, now I can cut them to length, sand them, and attach them to the back of the bench. Just gonna cut these to length. Okay, I have my 2 legs. Now I'm just gonna go sand them, get them ready to attach. This is not going to be an easy process, because you really need to make sure that you get these legs put on square. So I'm going to put a lot of glue. So I've sanded the bottoms of the post where I cut them off, and right now the back side is facing up, so I want to make sure that where I put my screws is facing up also. Okay, let's try it again. Okay. Good job, babies. Okay, hopefully the other side will be a little smoother. Let's try this again. Since I messed up the other side in my demonstration, hopefully this time I can show you proper way of doing it. So I'm going to add some more glue to my post. Unfortunately, I was not able to use clamps for any of this. I'm going to make sure that the back side is facing up, since this is the back side. I'm going to line up everything. That seems good. And let's hope that I get this in right this time. Okay, that looks good. Give me the other screw. Okay, actually I have this turned up too high. Should be at 16. That way you don't drive your screw further than you should. Okay, I'll do the underside now. The legs are now attached on both sides. They should be quite secure. Now to continue on. I brought the back inside, and just gonna close up here. I'm not gonna worry about filling those holes because you're not gonna see that. It's all gonna get covered up by the seat anyway. The next step is to determine how deep I want the bench to be, and I think that 12 inches is going to be plenty, but that doesn't mean that I want the base to be 12 inches because I have to accommodate for overhang. So I think I'm going to figure on 1 inch of overhang. So now I need to cut my side, front, and back supports, and I'm debating if I want to use these 3/4 inch pieces or if I want to use a piece of 2x4 to make it a little more sturdy. Yeah, I'll figure that out. I decided to go with both 2x4s and a piece of trim. I have all this salvaged pieces of trim in a pile out back, so I just cut this one to length, cleaned it up, and it's all going to get painted. Now I'm going to drill my pocket screws. 2 pocket holes. Okay, pocket holes are all done. Now it's time to put this base together. So I'm going to glue the inside, and I'm going to recess it a little bit so that it looks better when the top's put on. So I'm just going to glue. And for these I'm using 3.5 inch screws, and I'm going to use my clamps to help me out. Get a nice level spot on your floor. Make sure everything's flush to the floor. Just to be a little easier angled for myself. Screw it in from here. I love when I can use a clamp. It just makes everything so much easier. Okay. Awesome. I'm going to do the same thing for the other side. So on the front, I have a piece of decorative trim. I'm going to bring these legs all the way till they're flush. Now, unfortunately, I can't clamp this. I don't have, because this whole thing is almost 60 inches long. So again, we're just going to have to really try to hold it tight and screw it in. Again, I'm using the 3.5-inch screws, and I'm probably going to wedge my body in here so I can use resistance. Right up against it. Really push on it in here. Alright, one side done. Okay. There's that. And then I'm just going to glue and nail this piece of trim in between. And that'll look nice. I put this extra piece along the back because I realized that I had no way to screw the seat support to the headboard. I just drilled at an angle, I pre-drilled my hole and then screwed in, since I can't use these 2 pocket holes, since you can't get your screwdriver in here or your drill, it's too short. So did that on both sides along with some glue, and I'm just gonna let them stay clamped for a while.
You talking to yourself?
Trim is on. My next step is to take all these scraps of 2x6s that I got for free on the side of the road and cut them to length for the seat of my bench. Okay, changed my mind. Instead of using the 2x6s, I'm going to use these old shelving panels. Got a bunch of them that I picked up at the Habitat for Humanity for cheap each. And I'm going to use those for my bench seat so it's not quite so bulky looking. I'm going to use my table saw to cut these because they're 12.5 inches, and my radial arm saw won't cut all that. So it won't cut. This is a 9.5-inch board. So I'm going to use my table saw to cut this. So I'm going to take these over and see how many of them I actually need for the seat. So right now I have 4 boards. I'm going to need 1 more, probably 2 more, because I need a piece for the end here and a piece for the end over here. Maybe I'll notch them. I don't know. I'll figure out what I'm going to do on that. But I'll cut 2 more. So here's my dilemma. I'm short about 2 inches here. So I don't really want to just cut a 2-inch board. That's going to look a little strange. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually cut these boards maybe in half. So then I'll cut 1 more piece and it'll fit and they'll all match up just right. Let's see if I can figure this out. I needed 58.5. So if I cut each board down to 4.5 inches, 13 of them will give me exactly what I need. My pieces are all cut. Now it's time for me to go sand them all. I just have 80 grit paper on my orbital sander, and I'm just going to clean these boards up some before I put them onto my bench. All the pieces are cut to size and sanded. Now I need to lay them all out and make the notches for the 2 end pieces. They're all laid out. You can see that I just need to notch this back corner well, actually this part here out so that they'll fit in tight. This one looks perfect. This one I screwed up and cut it from the wrong side of the board, so now I get to fill in those notches. Now I'm just going to glue down and use the nailer to secure the seat. I'm going to use plenty of glue because I don't want to use too many nails. So I could have had the boards going the long way, but I didn't have any long enough scrap pieces of wood that I wanted to use up. So I just decided to use these and have them go front to back. All nailed. Now I just need to fill in the holes with filler and then sand the edges and paint the whole piece.